Uniforms folded, flag hangs on the wall. Traded steel and thunder for silence in the hall. The mission's over, the deployment's done, they said. But the war inside my head, it hasn't left instead. Got the handshake, the thank you, the ticket back home. Now I'm standing on the sidewalk, feeling utterly alone. This freedom is a cage that I can't seem to break. Every single morning it's a future I might forsake. Lost the rhythm, lost the drive, the structure disappeared. The invisible wounds are the ones that I truly feared. I'm walking on a wire, the pressure's coming down. Is there anyone listening in this lonely town? Full speed ahead after battle.
All right, technical difficulties there. We're here live for another episode, Full Speed Ahead After Battle on Military Broadcast Radio, where we give the veterans a voice. Welcome back. We had to cancel last week's show, had some technical difficulties. While I am a jack of many trades, electronics is not one of them, surprisingly. My niece, my 5-year-old niece, can work this stuff better than I can. So we'll have to figure that out for last week, but we're moving on. Adapt, overcome, as we always do. So let's wrap up these last couple of weeks. But before I do, let's throw out these numbers that we do every week. They say 22 veterans commit suicide every single day. However, latest report from the VA suicide report shows that number is down to about 17 and a half. 17 and a half veterans per day committing suicide. And that's from numbers up through 2023. But everybody's got that 22 stuck in mind because that's easy to remember, right? 22. Now, if you look at the Texas numbers alone, there is about 1.5 million and change veterans living in the state of Texas. And that is a lot of veterans. Texas has the most veterans per any other state. And then when you look at the numbers that are affecting most of those veterans in our state, about 60% of those veterans in Texas do not have the VA health care. And that is one of the leading causes of veteran suicide that we've seen is that veterans are not signed up through the VA and getting that health care. And that's what we're here for. That's why a lot of our guests are here on this show. That's why we do the work that we do is to get those veterans signed up. A lot of our guests, they hear the same thing. They hear the nightmare stories from the VA. And while that is true for many people, there are some great stuff out there. They're getting better. They say that old excuse that my brother, sister, whoever, they deserve it more than I do. So I'm not going to take away from them. But if you caught our last episode, our last guest, just like many others, said it's a bunch of crap, basically, put it simply, because you're not taking away any benefits from anyone else. The VA has all these benefits out there. They have the funding out there. You're not taking it away from anyone else. So don't use that excuse anymore. And our guest tonight, he's going to be talking about VA benefits. He does this a lot. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but he'll probably tell you the same thing. The benefits are out there for everybody. So quit making excuses and sign up. But 22 veterans commit suicide every day on average. That means that in the time of this 1 hour show, highly likely that one veteran will commit suicide. And that's why, again, we're here to talk about that transition, that mental health, the prevention, intervention, postvention, not just for the veterans, but we've heard from family members as well. It's not just a veteran when they take their own life. It's the families, the friends, and everybody else has to deal with that. So they need just as much as help as the veterans do. And so now that those numbers are the way, we got a couple of weeks to catch up on. Daylight savings time, kicking everybody's butt. I know that, especially starting back to a new job a couple of weeks before then. Getting used to that has been crazy, but it's definitely keeping me busy. For those just now tuning in, if you aren't keeping up, I did quit 10 years of corporate work in the auto finance industry, and I went to work at the county animal shelter. Unlike many other shelters, this one falls under the sheriff's department. And I highly respect our sheriff and his chief because I've worked with them for many years in the local policing area when I was on city council. And so I highly respect their leadership. I highly respect the leader that they selected to run the shelter. And like many veterans, working with animals it's like a coping mechanism, right? Bonding with those animals, being able to you count on them just as much as they count on you, whether it's canines, horses, or whatever animals you decide to work with. I can definitely tell you that I have in the last 10 years working, I have never been happier, more relaxed, more at ease or at peace than I have ever been than working with these animals. We are in a rural area, and Sarah County covers a lot of small towns, a lot of country here in Texas. We have a lot of farming, a lot of cattle industry in this area. So while we are mainly a dog and cat shelter, I'll tell you at this time, we do have about a 400-pound pig, as well as 2 goats and 2 horses, a mare and a colt. And so it's not just taking care of the dogs, it's taking care of livestock as well. And so that brings a whole nother aspect into it. So for me, I'm loving it, loving every minute of it. While we don't talk politics on the show, there has been one thing that I did put out recently, and I'd like to share that again tonight because I don't think a lot of people understand how this works. So a lot of people are up in arms about our president saluting fallen service members while wearing a USA hat. Well, it's his hat. That's why they're all upset. And let me just put this out there. He is the commander in chief of the armed forces of the United States of America. He is the number one top guy. So technically he serves outdoors, wearing a hat, saluting. That's how it goes. That is the respect that we show. That is what almost every veteran will tell you, or a lot of veterans will tell you, that we find that more respectful than if he was not wearing a hat, saluting outdoors, because veterans are outdoors and we're not wearing covers. We don't salute. It's just how it works. So if this is what it comes down to, that our country is crying over a simple salute while wearing a hat, let's get over it. We got more important things to do. Other than that, the Paralympics are wrapping up or have wrapped up. Team USA has been taking the gold in many of those as well. So great job there. So a lot of the Winter Olympics are down. Texas was warming back up, but we were down in the 30s this morning when I woke up. Now it's a little cold, but getting warmer. Coming up, as I've been putting out, next month is our Battle Buddy Throwdown for VFW District 21. That's going on here in Fort Worth at VFW Post 8235. And we are raising funds that are going to be going to the Irreverent Warriors DFW chapter to help them in their fight against veteran suicide and mental health awareness. That's April 18th. Come on, check it out. Registration's at 9 a.m. either there at the post, or you can go online to eventbrite.com and sign up there as well. It's $50 a team. There's going to be live music. We've got chairman of the Air Power Foundation coming out as a guest speaker. MBR will be out there talking, selling their Die Tired merchandise, raising money for veteran suicide awareness, and that as well. And several other organizations will be out there helping veterans as well. So make sure you come check us out April 18th. And have some fun with us while we're raising awareness. So with that, that leads us into our guest tonight, Drew Jones. He's here with us tonight to talk about his deal, the Veteran LLC, helping veterans get those benefits that we all deserve. That a lot of you may be missing out, and he's going to kind of give you the inside scoop on how that works, how he's been doing it for so many years, helping people out. But and he's got a whole different story than some of our other previous guests. He was active duty. He was also was enlisted. Ended up going officer to candidate school out of Mississippi. So he's got those two perspectives on it, but also working in local law enforcement, some special operations as well. And so we're going to hear tonight from Drew Jones of the Veterans LLC for this week's interview of the week.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Drew, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing good, sir. Happy to be here.
Good. Great to have you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's get into it. I gave everybody the basic background of you, but when you send me that bio, when they say you've been there and done that, you really have. You've been all over the place doing enlisted, officer work, law enforcement, special operations. You've been around there, got the T-shirt, and then some.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a rundown of
all the
Drew
bumps and
Jones
bruises to go with it?
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
I got law enforcement 2013 up until last year, a little break here and there, but overall through the course of 12 years, started in the county jail, got hired at the local police department. While there, I was trained specialty as a DUI officer, did some SWAT team type stuff, was then left there, joined the military at 28 years old. I said, now or never, joined the Mississippi Army National Guard, Howard Hatcher's degree. So I went straight in as an E4 specialist, did a 19 Delta Cav Scout, immediately drawn up in training right after OSOT, had about a month break, then a pre-MOB, then a MOB at El Paso, Texas, then boom, deployed. I was in the right place at the right time for a 20-man personal security detail for high threat executive protection, handpicked to work with Department of State in Syria. Got some super specialized training with them up in Virginia at their training headquarters before we got shipped out. Man, did that. One of its kind mission, the only time a National Guard's ever had a mission like that, because obviously there was no embassy in Syria at the time of the stuff that was going on there. So normally they would never have DOD assets do that job anyways, but they had, I believe it was 3rd ACR was there before us, and then we relieved them. So we were the first ever. And then of course, after us, they had to pull out. So as far as I know, we're the only ones the National Guard to ever have a mission like that with Department of State. And we had most miles driven, top 3 biggest convoys, people wise and vehicle wise. Most missions ran. At one point for several months, it was 7 days on every week, every day, both teams.
Yeah.
Started getting a little worn out, switched up to one team out, one team rest. So we do every other day. Like I said, just got real lucky, right time, the right place with the right background. Came home, switched over to the sheriff department, did some more DUI stuff, then got trained up and started really specializing in narcotics and SWAT team. And then, like I said, when I first came back from deployment, they try to tell you to take a rest from coming home to transitioning right back. But my story was kind of messed up because my dad got real sick. So when we left Syria to come back to Kuwait for a couple of weeks before we went back to Texas for the actual demob, I had a Red Cross letter. So within just under 48 hours, I went from being in Kuwait to being in Texas to being back in Mississippi. So I never actually got a demob. It was boom. Wow. It was wake up. It was wake up in Kuwait, go to sleep in Texas, and then the next day I was going to sleep in my house in Mississippi.
Man, so I never really got a heck of a time coming back. Yeah,
I didn't really have the time to kind of settle in, and it was Syria to Kuwait for a couple of days, and the Red Cross stuff was going on. Rushed to Texas.
Yeah.
I tried to go with my buddies to Buffalo Wild when he's just like, man, we're back in the States. And no, here came an active duty E8 with a red packet saying, Specialist Jones, we got to go. And He front loaded me to every line there was, and it was boom, 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 boom. I was done with demo just like that.
Wow.
And flew out, got home to Mississippi at like 2 a.m.
Okay.
So that definitely.
Whereabouts in Mississippi are you?
Now I live in Hernando, Mississippi, just under Memphis, Tennessee, right here at the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got some family down there in Gulfport and stuff, so I'm over there quite often.
The opposite
visiting.
side of us. Yeah, they way down there.
Yeah, way down there.
Way down there. I always tell people, a lot of people say I've been to Mississippi, but I've been down on the coast. I said, that's not Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not.
Yeah, it's a whole different area.
Yeah. Like I said, that's definitely not. If you've been to the coast and that's the only part of Mississippi you've been to, it's hard to really even say you've been to Mississippi.
Right. Yeah. So when most people think of National Guard, you're just the weekend warriors, or you go maybe do a deployment and come back, and you don't usually hear y'all doing all kinds of special operations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like you did. So
we deployed.
That's crazy.
We deployed an entire brigade. We didn't, a lot of National Guard. It'll be your unit, your company, maybe you and your sister company, but we deployed the entire 155 Armor Brigade combat team, like over 4,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
So, a major operation, because this basically the entire, the largest portion of the Mississippi National Guard.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you went officer candidate school, and got and so how long were you? Yeah. And so how long were you an officer, or did you get out? Are you completely out now, or are you still?
Yeah, I got out. I got out in March of 2024.
Okay. So going from enlisted to officer and then getting out and going into civilian side, what did that look like for you? I know it's always different for officers getting out than it is for the enlisted, but when you're coming from both backgrounds like that, I'm sure it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like I said, I mean, I was older. I joined at 28 years old. So even though I was only an E4, when I was immediately put on the PSD team, I was put in a median high-level leadership position within Bravo team that I was on for within the convoy. And the guy that was in my position for the other team was our a captain. So they put a lot of pressure on me, a lot of, a huge leadership position right away, which helped me going through OCS and everything like that. But yeah, it was real weird. You're in the military, you're this leader, you got a mission, you got a whole platoon answering to you.
Yeah.
And then at one point in time, I was the acting XO for a long time. And, now, so, you're second in command of the company. And then, next day you're out of the guard and you're just a civilian, just hanging out. And when I got out of the guard, I actually just got out of law enforcement as well. So I wanted to put I actually got my master's degree through being in the guard through TA. So I was like, I'm going to put my degree to work, became a branch manager. So it was a super, super strange time in my life. I wasn't a cop anymore. I wasn't military. I was like, man, I kind of, you feel like you lost your whole mission, your whole purpose.
Right. Yeah. Cause like a lot of veterans, they go from service into law enforcement because it's almost, I don't want to say it's the same thing, but it's about as close as you can get to being the same thing. And so it's just like, it's an easy transition it's an easy transition for a lot of it because you're still serving, you're still in uniform, you're still working with your teammates and everything else. But then you just went into corporate security or private contracting through a company that's gets contracted out with Amazon. Okay.
I work I live in Hernando, but I work in Memphis.
So how did you come about that after getting out of law enforcement? What made you want to get into that type of security?
Man, I knew a guy from when I was in the guard as an officer. He was one of my enlisted guys at the military police. And his wife actually works admin side for the company. And she saw just something I put on Facebook. And then I was getting ready to move and looking for kind of a change. And she just reached out like, hey, I work for this company up here in the Memphis area, because she knew I was from up here originally, but I've been gone for about 16 years. And she's like, have you ever thought about moving back up here? I could probably get you a job with your background. And I said, well, let me, look into it and get back to you in a couple months when I have, kind of my feet on the ground and ready to actually move. And sure enough, I hit her about 3 months later. I said, hey, is it still available? She said, come up here and interview real quick and we'll see what we can do. And I think I drove up there that week.
Nice. Good. So how long were you unemployed, or were you, or like how long did that transition last for you?
Oh yeah, I got out the branch manager gig, ran that course December 24. And then so I was back then I'd actually gotten back in law enforcement part-time. And but just 1 or 2 days a month, nothing real serious. And so when I saw that was going down, we restructured, another company took over. And so I told the sheriff, I said, man, I'm looking to get out of where I'm at, and y'all are shorthanded. I could just go ahead and jump on full time, just easy, super easy transition. I already know everybody that works here. And he said, yeah, man, come on. Did that about January for a couple months. Then some stuff happened, and I switched over from the sheriff department to the city department. And then I was sadly, I was going through a divorce. Things got real messy, and I said, man, I just need to kind of step away right now. So I told my chief, I said, I'm not really in the right mindset right now to be working. And I said, thank God I have my VA money that I can just sit back and relax for a little while and get my head straight. And just stepped away. And I don't know. I stepped away the first time because I kind of, my love for law enforcement wasn't really there like it used to be. And then when I got back in it full time the second time, it just felt more like a job than what I was meant to do. And it just was a totally different feeling from when I was in law enforcement before. Because if you ever met me before, I was like, man, I was put on this earth to be a cop like my dad. And this is what I was supposed to do. And then one day it wasn't like that no more. And I was like, man, this is just a job. It's not for me no more.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those type roles that if you ain't feeling it, that's not the spot for you to be in because of the amount of stuff that you go through on a daily basis. Right. You're asking for trouble at that point. You make that one wrong move,
mentally and physically.
That's the end of it. Right. Exactly.
And
so yeah, go ahead.
I was saying the part of Mississippi I was in, the pay wasn't great anyway. So if you're just doing it for a job, and there's plenty of other things you could be doing.
Right. Right. So then, as we say, a lot of veterans go to the law enforcement. So how much does that mental health play into that role for you, especially for somebody like you that's kind of bouncing back and forth between service and law enforcement and different locations?
Man,
how important is that?
As much as I hate to say it, the stigma's there just as bad or worse than it is in the military.
Yeah.
You talk about, you get into a shooting or, we had a department I used to work for. I won't say no names or nothing. They had an incident with the SWAT team and some shooting had to happen, sadly. And one of the guys is, one of the head guys. And, he admitted after the fact that, he thought he needed maybe a little bit of counseling. And, man, you would have thought he said the worst thing you could ever imagine.
Right.
And that shocked me. I was like, man, if somebody like that, he's, toward the top when it comes to SWAT. And, even he's admitting, man, I need a little, I just need to talk to somebody or something after that. And the way he was treated, I was like that right there. I said, nobody else in that team will ever say another word ever again.
Yep. And unfortunately, that's the way I was going to say, that's the way a lot of our veterans go, because when they see chief or whoever sit there and talk crap about it, like suck it up and get back to work. Like, well, I ain't going to tell you nothing else anymore.
Yeah. You're like, I ain't never going to say nothing.
Like crap. Yeah. Right. And then they all wonder why we struggle and become alcoholics and
or God forbid worse, just can't take it anymore. That's what, man, it's even, in the military, they're like, well, there's all this help for you to get here. And, if you need it, it's there. I said, well, yeah, it's there. But you go into PHA or, whatever, and you sit there and tell them legitimately that you have some mental issues going on and this and that, they're gonna immediately put you on a mental profile. Now you can't hold a weapon. Right. You can't do all this. You can't do that. You're no longer deployable. Like you basically, you got leprosy at that point. Like, man, the guy was wrong with this guy.
Right.
So it's like, there's help there. There's help there, but you're going to probably tank your career, at least temporarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm sure with the added stress of in law enforcement, with everything being on cell phones these days, it's like one wrong move and your career is over with that. Yeah. Everybody's going to see it. And it's like, they just don't get the stress and the pressure that you're going through, and you're expected to show up all day, every day and do it. You go from a speeding ticket to a DUI to a shooting and then back to a speeding ticket. It takes a toll on you. I know it does.
Yeah. I had to kind of explain that one time to a good friend of mine. And she said, man, she liked to joke around saying I had amnesia. She said, man, you can get in an argument or something bad could happen, and you just wake up the next day like nothing ever happened. I said, man, when you're a policeman, I said, you go to a terrible wreck call. I said, the minute you're done with that call, you're going to the next call. I said, at the end of my shift, if I have to go work a scene where somebody got, again, ran over by a car or killed, whatever, in any kind of way, I said, I got to come back to work the very next day and answer the very next call. I said, you don't have no time to sit there and be like, man, this is terrible. You don't realize it until you get home and you're like, wow, that was rough.
Yeah.
Or like when you're rushing to a hot call, I'll tell you many times, you're telling yourself in your head, like, man, this may be it. This is for real. Like we're probably end up having to shoot this guy. If the call is actually going on the way it came out over the radio. I said, man, we might end up having to shoot this guy when we get there. And then, you're all pumped up, adrenaline's rushing. Then you get off the call and you're chilling later talking to the guys. You're like, man, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess that's every day.
Right. And I guess that's where law enforcement's a little different than the service, because at least going to war or battle or whatever, when you come back, you got some time usually, and unlike your story, to decompress and maybe go see a therapist or something. And if you get out, the VA covers your benefits and everything. Yeah. But law enforcement, like you just said, you ask for the help and you're done. That's the end of your career. You don't get benefits to pay for it and none of this other crap.
Like I said, he was temporarily pulled from the SWAT team till he got fully cleared. Yeah. They were like, oh, hold on, what? Something's wrong with you? Yeah, he's temporary off SWAT team till he gets cleared.
Yeah, it's a wonder why they struggle in some places to find law enforcement or anybody that wants to work in that career, because that's a lot. So
what gets worse is to increase the level of being able to hire some people. You'll see the standards start being lowered.
Yeah. That's where you get the bad cops. Yeah, that's where you get the bad guys that, the people that went through high school that are the bullies or whatever, and now they're taking their revenge out on people or what. We've all heard the stories, right? So, unfortunately, it's the same thing in service right now in the military. You see what they've been doing the last 10 years or so, and standards are dropping, and now they're trying to change them around. And unfortunately, that pendulum swung way too much one way, and then now we're trying to go back the other way, and you got to find that medium, and it's difficult.
A lot of resistance.
Yeah. So I'm sure with all those struggles, like we were just talking about, that's kind of why you fell into what you're doing now, the veteran's veteran. And we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what is the veteran's veteran. All right.
Yes, sir.
Be right back after these messages.
Hold on, things are dizzy, spinning rapidly. To miss another beat is such a tragedy. Now this moment feels like all eternity. It should feel so comfortable. It's all in the secrets of the open hearts club. Tear it down, there is no need to scream and shout. When everything seems crazy, reflection now. A peace of mind should not include deception's help. It should feel so comfortable. All eyes stare into the scene, leaving dry taste in our memories. How can we all find change? It's all in the secrets of the open hearts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Full Speed Ahead After Battle here on MBR. That was the band Die Tired. And if you go to the MBR website or Die Tired's website, we have a collaboration t-shirt on there or shirt on there that all the proceeds go to supporting veteran suicide and mental health here at MBR. So back with my guest, Drew. We're talking about your time in service, law enforcement, the stigma facing it, all that different stuff. And I'm sure like many other veterans like me and others, there's a reason why we get into what we do when it comes to helping veterans. It's because we've had some bad experiences and we're trying to help those out there so they're not struggling through that stuff. And I'm sure that's how the Veteran LLC came around, right? Something you saw a need for, and you said you're going to do something to help.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I came home. I was deployed March of 18, got home March 19. Like a dummy, I rushed back to work because, man, a couple weeks of just chilling, I say just chilling. My mind wasn't chilling. My wife was trying to, bring me around the family and friends and have people over. She's so excited I was home. And after doing that for about a week straight, I kind of just lost it. I said, I need to chill for a minute. Like I'm happy to be back, but I need to relax. I said, these people aren't going anywhere. I just need some time to relax. So she left me alone for a little while. And of course, the story. I found myself not even at lunchtime sitting on the front porch drinking beer. Yeah. And I called my buddy. He said, man, what are you doing? And I said, man, I'm sitting here drinking. He's like, it's not even lunch. And I was like, that's when I was like, well, dang, I guess this isn't normal. And luckily that Veterans Day, they had a big event in Starkville, and there at the Sportsplex in Mississippi, had a big old open house for Veterans Day. It was the Jackson, the Memphis, and the Tuscaloosa, Alabama VA were there with a booth set up. If you brought your GD-214, you'd get enrolled right away. And that's how I made my dad come with me. He's a Vietnam veteran and never did anything with the VA his whole life. And he came down there with me. We both got registered. He lived up in Memphis, so he got the Memphis VA, and I did Jackson, Mississippi. Had my first ever appointment February of 2020. Went down there completely by myself, man. Just walked in the VA. I said, where do I go? I got an appointment. Had my primary care doctor. They run you through a bunch of questions and stuff. Boom, diagnosed PTSD. Yeah, right off the bat. I never even thought about it. They read me a little script, and I was answering questions. Didn't think anything about it. I thought I was just answering questions. They were like, "Oh yeah, you're very, very high level positive PTSD." I said, "Oh, I didn't know we were taking any kind of test. I thought you were just asking me some standardized questions." And so that got finished up. They set me up with some care or whatever. And I went downstairs and said, where do I go? And I was completely by myself. Didn't know what I was doing, where I was even, where to even go. I just asked a veteran that was talking to me for a second. I said, man, don't you get like an ID card or anything like that? So he led me down to get my ID card. And while I was down there, I just happened to talk to another veteran. I said, man, how do you people get a rating, like a disability? And he said, yeah, man, that's the building next door. He said, this is the VA healthcare. Next door is the compensation. And I, of course, I wouldn't know what any of that meant. I just knew go across the street. Yeah. So I literally walked over there by myself and went in, and it was pretty empty too. I guess it was around lunchtime. And I said, hey, I'm here for disability. And she said, yeah, walk in there. Lady will help you out. And super old school, handed me a piece of paper, and I started writing stuff down. And she was asking me, and I was telling her, writing them down, and she said, all right, well, they'll be in touch. I said, I didn't even know what I just did, but apparently I just made my first ever claim with the VA for disability. And that's what started the whole journey, man. It took 4 years of pretty much back and forth and hell. And what really made me the most mad and kind of started a war between myself and the VA is when they told me they turned me down for PTSD. I said, how? I said, that's impossible. I said, y'all are the ones that said I had it, diagnosed me, and gave me medicine for it and treatment. Right. And then that's when I learned that the compensation stuff department and the healthcare department are two different entities that are in the VA, but they don't talk to each other. And that just completely blew my mind. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's amazing how that works. And I guess I just got lucky when I came out, because I tried to go and they said, well, you have to go the day after your EAS, right? And that's the only when you can apply. And I did that down here in Fort Worth, and they sent it off 9 months later.
I'm getting a back pay check. Like that was the easiest that I had ever heard of. And then I guess I got lucky again because at that time I got 90%, and that was back in 2011. And so within this last year, I applied for to go for the 100% to up a few things, and I guess I got the right VSO because I got lucky again. Filled all the paperwork, went to the appointments, did the stuff. They said, "Okay, here's your back pay. You're now at 100%." I got lucky as hell going through the VA. I know there's so many people out there that did not, and will understand how one person can have the easiest time ever, and then the other person spending 20 years to fight for 10%.
I see it on Facebook all the time. It blows my mind. The guy be like, "Man, I just got my 100% after fighting the VA for 20 years," and I'm like, "My goodness, man."
Yeah. So that's what. So you took that experience, turned it around, and now you're helping other veterans with that.
Yep. I got 80% right. That's what it was. Also a little bit kind of left out there, man. It took me about a year. You get a year. Your back pay date when you come off active duty orders is when you come off your active duty orders, not when you actually make that first claim. Which again, I didn't know none of that. I just thought my claim would start February 2020, but apparently it was on my cutoff date from active duty orders in March of 19. So I was already at almost a year, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So mine, then I couldn't go to any of my CMP exams. So it was so crazy. They actually sent me a letter in the mail on like a Monday or Tuesday saying all your claims have been canceled. You have to refile for not making your appointments. You have a year to appeal this. And I was like, man, what is going on? Literally, that was a Monday or Tuesday. It was either Thursday or Friday. Another letter came in the mail saying, due to COVID, you've been getting an extension for a whole year to complete your CMP exams. And I called the VA. I said, what is going on, man? I said, they're canceled. Now they're not canceled. He said, yes, sir. You hit the 1 year mark. That's a letter's automatically generated, but it was caught in the system. Also immediately flagged that due to COVID, you're going to get an extension for your stuff. So when I finally got my 80% off my initial stuff, I got almost 2 years of back pay.
Yeah.
Which again, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that either. So that was a giant surprise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. That's life changing right there.
Oh yeah, it was. I think about $57,000 just showed up in her. My wife, she woke up screaming. And I said, "What's going on?" I was on sleep medicine, and I said, "What's happening?" And she's like, "Look!" And I was like, I had one eye, and I just started laughing. I said, "I told you eventually it would work." I said it would work out eventually, and I just went back to sleep. But that, then fast 2 more years later, like a year later, they finally accepted insomnia, which I'd been on Ambien for 3 years. So how that took so long, that got me to 90%, and then back to insomnia. They said they couldn't keep giving me sleep medicine because I've been on Ambien for 3 years, so I had to take a sleep study. And I said, well, man, I don't think I have sleep apnea. I don't even snore, but my sleep is pretty terrible. And other than the snoring, I had all the other symptoms, and so I took a sleep study test. Boom, I had sleep apnea. And during that time, I was doing all the legwork to get a private psychiatrist and a private counselor, and to get all my diagnoses and DBQs and paperwork in place. Yeah. And so I refiled for the PTSD and sleep apnea, and boom, they replaced insomnia with PTSD with anxiety, and then they gave me sleep apnea, and that got me to 100% P&T.
Yeah.
But during that, the first person I ever helped was my dad, because he got set up with the VA the same day I did, but he never did the disability route. He just was going to get some, basic free health care. And I said, well, Dad, I've been going through this about 2-3 years now, and I'm, it's working in my favor. I can see it, it's going to work. It's going to take a little while, but I'm going to get to 100% now that I've learned kind of what I need to do and what's required. And he said, well, let's see. And he's the first guy I ever helped, and he got 100% P&T.
Yeah.
And then just the next thing I was helping my uncle, and then helping my friend, and then another friend. And then all of a sudden it was, hey man, this guy told me to call you that you can help with the VA. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah.
So hopefully you're having better chances than I am, because I was helping my dad when he got out. He did 36 years in Texas Guard, National Guard, all that. And he finally got out, moved down there to Mississippi. And I'm like, look, you need to get set up at the VA. I from what I hear, Mississippi down there, Gulfport area has a better VA than a lot of the other places, just from what I've heard. And he knew the troubles that I went through, the horror stories that I went through, as far as getting the appointments and trying to get in and actually get the help once that started. And he's like, man, I ain't going to deal with it. So about a year or so ago, or less than a year ago now, he got stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. I'm like, look, you have cancer now. You have to go to the VA. They'll cover all of that for you. You don't have to come out of pocket. And so we're trying to get him set up down there. He finally got his first appointment set up for the screening. They sent him a letter and saying, we got to cancel this. Next appointment is in like 3 months. I'm like, how are you going to tell the guy that's dying from cancer, we're canceling your appointment, come back in 3 months? So I'm with him. He just, nope, I'll pay out of pocket for it. I'm like,
I saw a guy on, I think it was TikTok earlier. They requested some kind of, which, you think it's true. You never know with social media, but he requested an appointment for mental health or something. And they gave him an appointment in like June. It's March.
Yeah.
It's like,
how is that going to help me now?
That's insane. That's why I try to tell everybody, if you can, depending on how close you live to the actual VA, man, I do everything now through community care. Yeah, that way it's set up locally.
So do I.
And a lot of people don't know. They said, man, they don't even know what community care is. And I said, man, if you don't live like, if it's not convenient for you to go to the actual VA, like it's definitely not for. Well, I mean, I guess technically it would be convenient for me to go to Memphis, but I don't want to switch from Jackson to Mississippi to Tennessee. So there's no way I'm driving 3.5 hours to the Jackson VA. So I got to use community care for everything. And I'm like, man, you're going to civilians, you're going somewhere local. I said, I hate to say it, but you're going to get way better treatment because in most of the places you go civilian, they're going to love military and they're going to love because you're there from the VA.
Yep.
I said, man, it's just a lot of people don't know that. And they're like, man, I don't want to go to the VA or deal with the VA. I said, brother, other than like your initial appointment or any kind of like super specialty appointment, I said, you can do literally everything through community care.
Yeah, and I even have 2 VAs. I've got they're 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic. One in Fort Worth over by TCU, and then one in Dallas. And I still am able to go through community care because there's one 10 minutes down the road from me. And so that's what I try to tell people around here is like, dude, you ain't got to go to Fort Worth. You ain't got to deal with all the traffic. There's right here. But like you said, people don't know that, and people don't
no idea.
And they also don't know that the CMP is no longer through the VA location either. They're going to the third party.
It's also going to be somewhere
QTC.
Generalized local.
And those people are amazing. They're like, they'll help you out so much, and then just write the stuff off. Okay, you're good. Here you go. They write it up and it's done. So literally, it's almost, you don't have to go to the VA anymore, except to that initial period to set up your benefits, to get your ID card so you can get on base or whatever. And other stuff. And then the rest of that, if you want, it's through the community healthcare. And so I think that's where a lot of people are not seeing that, the benefits of that. So you're helping people out. Why veteran? What does that mean?
Man, I was trying to think of a word or, a company name or a slogan or something like that to let them know, like, I'm a veteran. I've literally been in the shoes that they're in, especially when it comes to National Guard. Man, let me tell you, there's either no information put out or nothing but bad information. I can't tell you how many times people, especially policemen, man, it's like their biggest fear. They said, man, I heard I couldn't get any kind of mental health or PTSD claim with the VA or can't be a cop anymore. I said, brother, I was a cop. What do you mean? Right. Like I didn't get special privilege just because it's me. I'm like, your VA disability stuff has absolutely nothing to do with your civilian job. I said, there's nothing, unless it's like federal or something. I said, there's nothing you even that says you even have to tell them unless it, physically limits, the way you work. Right. I said, other than that, it's none of their business.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people, it's the bad info or literally the lack of info.
Right. And I think that's in places like Texas, a lot of people were worried about it at one point because they thought if I get into the VA and they put me at 90%, 100%, whatever, they put depression, yada, yada, I'm not going to be able to get my concealed carry license anymore. Well, that's kind of the same thing.
Just the other day, he said, man, I don't want to lose my gun rights. I want to be able to keep hunting. I said, man, what are you talking about?
Right.
He said, man, the guy in my unit back in the day said, if I get mental health, I can't have guns and go hunting no more. I said, oh my God. I said, man,
not how this works.
Everyone has that one guy that gave them bad information and they just ran with it the rest of their lives.
Yep. And unfortunately, this is not the type of information that they're putting out in these TAP classes when guys are getting out, right? And again, that's something that they need to be fixing and working on. Is it's not just do your resume, dress nice, go to homedepot.com, walmart.com, sign up at those places for a job. They need to be putting, and from what I hear from one of my VFW contacts, is that they're slowly adding it into some TAP classes, that they're bringing a rep in there to get you signed up so you're enrolled in your VA benefits before your EAS is even done now. And so that's a start.
They need to.
It's a start. Yes. Yeah. At a minimum, at least get whatever percentage
you enrolled.
Start out that. Right. Get you enrolled. Yeah. That way you can walk in, you can get that medication or the dental or whatever that you need to keep going on with life, and not years down the road when you finally get tired of it and like, okay, maybe I need to do something now. So, so let me ask you this. There's a lot of people that are concerned, I guess, over the last couple of years, because there are other organizations, businesses out there that say they're helping VA or veterans with their VA benefits, and a lot of them are getting bad stigmas, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're screwing over our veterans or things. So what is setting you apart from those guys and the crap that they're trying to pull?
Well, through my 4 years of struggling with the VA and helping, and then I've basically been doing this ever since February 2020. So I've been doing it for 6 years now, between my process and helping other people. Well, obviously during that time, after I got more knowledge of what was actually going on, I actually started reaching out to some of these companies and learning about, hey, how much do you cost? Like, how do you charge?
Yeah.
How do you get paid? Like, this and that. So, so not only, number one, that I make sure, however you want to word it, I'm the cheapest / most affordable guy there is. And number two, when you call me, you're going to call my cell phone. So you're going to talk to me. You're not going to call a 1-800 number and get a call center and talk to a salesman that's reading off a script. Yeah. Hey, what do you need? Well, we're going to hook you up with blah, 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 blah. I saw some ads today. I wanted to screenshot them. It said 2 weeks, 100%. That's the biggest lie I've ever seen.
Hey, no way. You can't get the paperwork filed in 2 weeks.
Yeah. All these companies are putting that on Facebook, man. You give us 14 days, man. We'll have you at 100%, $54,000 the rest of your life. And then a lot of them, they suck these veterans in because they say, oh, we don't get paid unless you get paid. But they're charging anywhere from 4 to 9 months of whatever their increase is, which if they're just going from 60 to 70, that's not much money. But if they're going from 0 to 80, 0 to 90, now you owe them a big chunk of change.
That's a chunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying, then on the flip side of things, I agree in veterans choice. Cause now looking back, if I would have had somebody approach me when I was first getting started, that was that I could have hired, man, I would have paid them whatever they wanted, just so I didn't have to go through everything that I went through. Which, of course, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I would have done that route. But so I don't like it when I hear like Congress and them or somebody wants to get involved and outlaw all these other companies, because I'll never say anything bad about VSO because there's some really great ones out there. But there's only a limited number of them. They're not everywhere. They don't work 7 days a week. Some of them only work 2 or 3 days a week for a couple hours a day. So, like I said, there's not enough of them out there to serve every veteran that wants VA benefits. And I hate to say it, but anything with government work, if they're not actually having they don't get no kind of benefit for the more veterans they successfully help. They're just getting paid throughout the year regardless. So, how motivated they're really going to be to go that extra mile to help that veteran out. Where if you work with me, it's a one-on-one, very personal coaching, consulting experience. Like I said, I do a weekly check-in. They have my number. They hit me up. Some of them hit me up almost every day. I tell them, hey, man, any questions, any concerns, you got an appointment coming up, no matter what it is, call me, text me. And that's what I tell them. I said, man, always text me first. I may be with my kids. I may be at work, but I said, I'm very responsive. I always have my phone on me. So if you work with me, it's a one-on-one deal. And I'm a fellow veteran that went through the process on my own, so I know exactly what they're going through.
Yeah,
I'm not some company. I understand. I'm not making millions of dollars.
Yeah. No, I mean there is a need for companies like yours out there, right? Because not everybody gets lucky like I did trying to go through my rating. My buddy that I started with for the longest time, he's going through it, and they're giving him a hell of a time because, well, we can't connect this to a service-related disability.
Exactly.
But, dude, I was there. I saw it happen. I know for a fact you happened.
And that's really
I got to write those.
Veteran.
Right. But unfortunately, what I go through at the VA in Texas is different than what he's going through the VA in Wisconsin, because
Exactly.
even though the VA is the VA, the different states do different things, and it's ridiculous how this works. And I'm like, look,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I went through and how I answer things, but I can't guarantee it's going to work for you. So yes, there are reasons why we need companies like yours, especially somebody that's backed by a veteran that's been through that, done it, and helping those out, because there are literally guys out there struggling for 20 or 30 years trying to get anything.
Because if you go online,
right.
man, any of these Facebook groups, man, you see it every day. Someone says, hey, man, I didn't have any luck. Like, again, nothing against VSOs, but they'll say, man, hey, I didn't have any luck with my VSO. Who do y'all recommend to me to hire? And, man, every comment is just bashing companies like mine, saying don't hire lawyers, don't hire those companies. Go to a different organization's VSO, do it yourself. And I said, man, if a veteran wants to spend that money, man, it's on them.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I've been seeing doing my research where the fraud comes in, they're not really committing fraud toward the veteran. The company itself is committing fraud to the VA, because they have, like I said, Veterans Guardian. I hate to call them out, but it's public knowledge now. I watched a whole 45-minute video on it showing the actual court documents. They had one doctor. That's it. And he only worked for them. He didn't even have his own practice. And that one doctor, I mean, it was like 18,000 veterans that he saw, and the DBQs were just copy and paste.
Right.
Like how did that? And now the veterans are freaking out, because I mean, if you hired Veterans Guardian, you weren't aware that, what they were doing. You just thought this is a company, they're helping you out. Hey, I got a rating, and it worked for me. I don't know what else they're doing, but now there's a possibility their DBQ could be flagged. Nothing against that veteran. And then, we never know. They could make him come back to a C&P exam. And I'm not saying everything he has could be 100% legit. It's just the company he used. Now you're inducing all that anxiety, all that fear, because God forbid he, 100% relies on that money he's getting. So even the question of getting it taken away is going to cause a lot of stress within the veteran community. Like that crazy new rule they tried to come out with that got shut down in 2 days, man. I mean, the stuff I was seeing online, man, no, people were online saying, I will never take my medicine again. I'll never go to treatment again. I mean, I even saw it as scary as it got. People said, man, if they try to take my benefits away from me for taking my medicine, I might as well just commit suicide. Yeah. And I was like, man, please stop, man. It's only been 2 days.
I know.
Like, calm down.
I don't know. I don't know how they thought they were going to get that one through there. It's like, man, did y'all not even read this before you put it out? But I think it's groups like those, like Veterans Guardian, that recently
take
VFW
one to make it look bad for everybody.
Right, exactly. And recently, VFW advocate was testifying before Congress, and Congress straight up said, "Well, your VSOs are telling your veterans to lie at these appointments." Like, no, that's not what we do. No. We're sitting here telling the truth. We talk about our worst days and how we're feeling on those worst days, and we're not lying. But it's those groups like Veterans Guardian that are telling them to go in and lie about this and make this up, and that's where that stuff is coming in, because and that's the reason why we got to vet companies like Veterans Veteran and other ones, so we're not finding those people are straight up lying, because again, like you said, the veteran didn't know that this was happening, so you can't really go back to him. But if the veteran sits there and lies about everything, then comes back and takes all the money and benefit, then that's on you, and that's
on the veteran. Because I mean, is there fraud going on at some level?
Yeah,
of course. Same thing with civilian disability. Yeah. Is every single person on civilian disability 100% legit? No.
Right. Exactly.
And I hate to even say that. Is every single veteran that's on disability 100% legit? Probably not.
No.
But to say, say it's a massive scheme and this massive amount of fraud, I just don't see it.
No.
I know more veterans that are not on disability than I know that are.
Absolutely. There's veterans not on it because they hear the horror stories and then they just don't want to deal with it. And I ain't putting up with it. So it's ridiculous the amount of work that it takes. And again, like you said, some places, maybe those rural places don't have a VSO, so they have nobody to go to for that help. And so when you got to do it yourself, it's not, you can't just go in and click a couple of buttons. You got to put together all your medical records and history statements and yada, yada. And it's not easy if you're doing it alone.
No, I mean,
So,
like I said, I know, so much now, man. When I was doing it, hey, I was still doing it on paper. This was just like 6 years
yeah,
ago. We were there. What you didn't do every
yeah,
single thing online. Now, I mean, as long as you
yeah,
know what you're doing, you are clicking some buttons. But like I said back then, man, I didn't know about writing lay statements for my conditions to
yep,
prove that they were service connected, or a buddy
right,
statement, or I never heard of a
yeah,
nexus letter.
yeah,
I strictly just submitted all my medical evidence. I went to everywhere I went on my own, so I knew for sure it was being turned in. And
yeah,
it was either enough or it wasn't enough. Like I said, I didn't even know about,
yeah,
now I tell veterans, I said, man, you can write statements for yourself that can be used as
yeah,
evidence. I said, buddy statements that can corroborate what you're saying. And I said, man, you can get a
yep,
nexus letter signed by the medical professional that diagnoses you with something. Because two of the
hmm,
biggest things I see, no actual diagnosis, or they
hmm,
reported it, say an injury in the service, but since they've been out or home from deployment, no continued care.
right,
So I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, they're like, hey, we see right here, it is service connected. You hurt your back on deployment or whatever, but we don't see any record of medical treatment since you've been out.
yeah,
So then, boom, they're turned down, or hey, yeah,
right,
you got all this treatment, and we believe it's service connected, but you haven't actually been diagnosed. That's
yeah,
why I try to tell these guys. I said, man, you got to do the legwork. You got to actually be seen. You got to take care of yourself,
yep,
no matter what, whether it's disability or not.
right,
I said, all this veteran, everyone wants to be tough, and man, I'll tough it out. I said, man, we're not in no more. We got to take care of ourselves.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
said, you got to go to the doctor. You got to get treatment. You got to get an actual diagnosis. I said, if
yeah,
the doctor will agree to it, you get a nexus letter drawn up where then it's their official medical professional opinion saying that they also believe what they diagnosed you with is due to your service connection.
right. And I think one of the things that a lot of our older veterans are having the trouble with is they can't trace it back to a service-connected disability because back then you didn't go to medical unless you were
Never,
dying, right? So
never.
unless you had an arm chopped off or cut off or whatever, you didn't see doc. And so that's
No.
why they have a hard time because they can't trace that back. And so that's what I tell a lot of my guys is while you're in, if you stub your toe, go to medical. I know they're going
Yeah.
to call you all kinds of names under the sun,
Just
but
go ahead and get it on
10,
record.
10 years, 15 years down the road, that's going to turn into a knee problem, turn into a hip problem, and then you're getting your hip replaced.
Oh
And
yeah, man. We
you
had
don't
guys
know.
jumping off Bradleys, jumping off tapes,
Yeah.
jumping off the big LMTVs, man. Your
Yeah.
back's just
Yep.
landed wrong,
Yep.
boom, you just rolled the crap out of your ankle. I said, man, you
Yep.
better go to sick call. No, I'll be all right. I said, man, about 3 years from now, when your back's,
Yep.
like you got a bulging disc or something, you're gonna wonder what happened. It's probably come from
Right.
today and never getting treatment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, Drew, we're coming into the end of the show, and this is the time that I give to my guest. Give you about 2 minutes to kind of speak your mind or your heart or whatever you want to put out into the world, whether it's about veteran, LLC, how you help, suicide prevention, whatever it is you want to put out there. I'd give you the floor. So take it away, whatever you want to say.
Man, like I said, I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I've been in dark corners, man. I've lost jobs. Went through a divorce. Man, lost my house, lost everything minus my vehicles, man. I had some dark times, and the people that helped me out the most, where I'm living now, the job I got, everything that helped me rebuild my life was a fellow veteran. So don't do it alone. Even if something as embarrassing or silly as it may sound, man, just put something on Facebook, man. You'd be blown away at how many people care and want to reach out to you immediately that may have just not known what's going on. And you're like, man, I'm so alone, because I felt alone. And man, I was like, man, I don't even normally post this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I'm just having a really hard time in life. Man, my phone was blowing up. People I hadn't even seen since high school. So don't sit at home. Don't live in the darkness by yourself, man. Reach out. Like I said, at the end of the day, the veteran community is going to step up and help you more than anybody else, because it's a fellow veteran. The guy I'm living with now, we never even met before. He knows my nephew, and we're veterans, and that's how we connected. And boom, I had a free place to live. The girl that got me hired, I never even met her before, but I knew her husband briefly because he transferred out of the Army Guard to the Air Guard. Boom, that fellow veteran. So whether you hire me to help you and we work one-on-one to help you with all things at the VA, man, just do your research. I said it's your choice if you want to hire somebody. There's always some really good VSOs out there between the DAV, the VFW, or your actual county VSOs or state. Or like I said, it may be a little bit of a longer path, but man, there's so much information out now on the internet, YouTube. I mean, it's just literally as much as your brain can take information on how to do it on your own. just get educated and make the best choice that helps you and your family, because these benefits aren't only for you, they're going to set your family up for the rest of your life.
Yes, sir. All right, Drew, I appreciate you coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime. And
I loved it.
Good luck out there. And, man, keep getting those guys signed up on them benefits. It changes lives like nobody else. I mean, it saves families, it saves lives, and we need it. I mean, for the guys that don't know about it. So,
and real quick,
I appreciate it, Drew.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as the Veterans Veteran, and my website is thevetsvet.com. THEVETVETS.com. The Vets Vet, or VETSVET. Thevetsvet.com.
You thought it was so simple.
Yeah, I was like, well, let me spell it. Yeah, thevetsvet.com.
All right, Drew. Well, take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you around.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, ladies and gents, that does it for this evening's episode of Full Speed Ahead After Battle here on MBR, Military Broadcast Radio, where we give veterans a voice. Sorry, it's been a long day at work. I'm telling you, busy. You heard it, Drew, from Drew, just like all our other guests. You're not in this alone. You've got people out there. That's what veterans do. We network. You don't even have to know the veteran. Just knowing that they are a veteran, whether you served in the Navy, the Army, Marines, wherever, a veteran that is a true veteran will help you out regardless if they know you or not. So if you need some help, like we talked about, getting your benefits, every veteran, no matter how long you served, no matter whether you think you deserve 100% or you deserve 5%, go to the VA, get signed up for them benefits. And if you're having a hard time, go find you a county VSO, VFW, VSO, DAV, Veterans Veteran LLC at thevetsvet.com. Find you one of those people to help you out, because you don't understand when you go from 0% to even 20%. Just having that little bit of pocket change can mean the difference between eating a meal that night and going hungry. Getting to 100% opens up so many doors for you and your family, whether it's educational benefits, Champ VA benefits, base access, any of that kind of stuff. It's not always easy doing it. Some people are luckier than others on getting that percentage increased. Some people not so much. But there's groups out there, there's people out there that are going to help you. And just like we say every week, you didn't go through boot camp alone. You didn't serve alone. You're not doing the VA alone. We're out here to help you. You just got to find us. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever social media is, your local VFW, your local American Legion, somebody somewhere is going to help you get in contact to get those VA benefits or whatever other help you need, whether it's just to sit down and chat. Most of these veterans will do it just to keep you around. Because as they say, I'd rather listen to you for hours than get that one call that you're going. So don't let that happen to you. You're not in this alone. Reach out and help, because we're all here for you. All right. We'll see you next week. Full speed ahead after battle. Dismissed.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness, one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show, or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.